Welcome, this is Nathan and welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at a scenario where Russia disappears. Now, if Russia were to just vanish and sink into the bottom of the ocean, well, it'd be interesting because firstly, India is now a superpower, ranking in number 3, and, well, Russia, they control a lot, but also not really. And also NATO would kind of have a struggle with Russia gone, because who are they going to have that name as? So we're going to see what happens in today's video. So, the first thing we have happening is, I'm actually going to use cyan, because I feel like that looks better. I'm not going to colour in all of this. I might only colour in like the major islands of Canada, because if I try colouring every single island of Canada, half this video is just going to be me colouring stuff in. So, ignore the white, just imagine that it's Canada. So actually, hang on. Now, with Russia just disappearing, NATO would go one or two ways. One, they'd stay together for one reason, China, or two, NATO would crumble, because there's no real threat other than China, but they're not even near China. We're going to do the more interesting scenario where NATO will stay together against China. And we have this happening because we have some countries joining NATO that may seem surprising. They can be like outside countries. So NATO is kind of becoming a world alliance now instead of just North Pacific. Japan will be one of the countries joining, as well as South Korea. Now, would South Korea and North Korea situation allow South Korea to join NATO? I'm not actually all that sure. But with this, China now has threats on their border. And with Australia and New Zealand both applying for NATO membership and eventually joining, with China basically being surrounded on all sides, not really. But at this point, India's going over to the USA because Russia's gone. So India is becoming a massive US ally. Vietnam is US leaning, if that shocks you. I don't really know what would happen with Central Asia. I would imagine China would get all these guys on their side. Most likely Armenia would start going over, probably would just go neutral. I think it's, I forgot to call it Turkey. Well no, because actually, I think Turkey would leave NATO. Now, I said they're not countries won't be leaving, but there would be some countries leaving, but I think Turkey would leave NATO, because they can handle Iran by themselves, and there really isn't no more threat. Georgia, they have no real point of joining NATO now. Russia's gone. Ukraine, just because they're allied with NATO, they'll join. Bosnia and Herzegovina will also join. And, well, Serbia is kind of, well, let's just say, yeah. Kaliningrad, which was released, will also join NATO, and, you know, what happens with Belarus. So, that's like me trying to get the small stuff out of the way. I think NATO would easily go on a conquest into Belarus and Serbia to liberate them. But after that, I don't see any other countries in Europe joining. Austria and Switzerland and Ireland neutral. And Moldova, well, no, Russia doesn't exist anymore, so Transnistria is probably just not a thing, so you know what, let's do that. But at this point, NATO's going to start looking outwards for more members, because China's a big threat. They asked if India wants to join. India says no. Morocco would like to join, but somebody is blocking them. I wonder who. Colombia, however, will accept this gladly, and Brazil will not. Everyone else in the Americas is neutral. But now we have China making a very peculiar choice. They form an alliance. And what countries will be in this alliance? Well, these countries will include Pakistan, Kyrgyzstan, Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Algeria, Libya, Mexico, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba. Now, if you can't already tell, this is kind of like the remains of, like, this is kind of like the remains of anything. If NATO takes down China, the world is theirs. India is again, they're neutral, but they're starting to really lean towards the USA. Kazakhstan, they would probably go neutral as well as all the other countries here, except from Afghanistan. Trying to fight try some stuff in Afghanistan, but it probably would end up failing, actually. Oh, yeah, can't forget the most obvious. North Korea also joins this alliance. Eventually, we see Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia also join, and that's because Chinese leading. Thailand is split. I think Thailand would want to be with the USA, but also be with China. So Thailand will declare neutrality, but we have an interesting scenario happening. China decides that they need to expand their power, and right now they don't have much access to what is basically the massive Arctic Sea. So they decide that Mongolia is a perfect subject of invasion for that. Now, Mongolia was really starting to benefit off this, as they haven't had coast since probably, I'd say, the Mongol Empire. And they're making some pretty good trades, like they're doing trades with Kazakhstan, they're doing trades with Europe. But China wants some of that, and sadly nobody's going to help Mongolia. So, I mean, do I need to show this? Chinese troops zoom into Mongolia and begin taking land with no issues. They zoom up, take Ulaanbaatar, and, well, Mongolia is... I mean, if Mongolia just ends up surrendering after being a wasteland. So let's take a look at this peace treaty. So, with Mongolia and Albania next, and China wanting to get more land, a lot more countries are going to start joining NATO. I mean, would they even be called NATO at this point? I'm just going to call it NATO. Taiwan is one of them. Taiwan joins NATO. Like, let's be honest, China would invade Taiwan, but it wouldn't end well. Vietnam is going to hold off now. Oh, crap. No, you're not joining that. But, China will begin looking out for more allies for them, them to join their alliance, because they need more allies, because, well, they're not winning against the USA right now, are they? So, we have them being able to recruit Ethiopia. They also somehow justify recruiting Egypt, which will be a game changer. They get Iraq, and what's going to kind of lead into something. Palestine will join this alliance, and you know what's going to happen from there. Israel will apply to join NATO, which they agree to. But at this point, we see probably the backstab of a century. Turkey, who, just left NATO, will decide that joining this alliance is in the best of their interest. And before the Caucasus can do anything, it's already too late. The Caucasus try to join NATO, every single one except from Armenia. But it's already too late, as, well, this is happening. And the world is shocked by this, because, well, one of these countries they're invading is Azerbaijan, and this is Turkey and Iran together. China may have rigged the elections in Turkey and got somebody in power who shouldn't be in power. Cyprus now literally pooping their pants is going to quickly join NATO. Even though, again, they wouldn't be able to. Sadly for the Caucasian Mountains, this is going to be a destruction. We have Iranian troops immediately moving up and taking Baku within a couple of weeks. And we have just the killing of all these guys. Turkey pushes over and captures Yerevan, and now pushes up to capture Tbilisi, which, again, goes really well. At this point, Georgia will collapse, Azerbaijan will collapse, and Armenia will also collapse. Let's take a look at this peace treaty. So, they get divided up. But at this point, tensions in the world are beginning to rise as, well, everyone's kind of realising that they have to pick a side. So in, really urgent way, Tunisia and Morocco will both join in on NATO, and I'm going to include Western Sahara here. Mauritania is going to make the choice here, now that, Morocco just joined this alliance. They're going to join this Red Alliance, China's alliance. From here, everything starts to fall in place down here in Africa. It's Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Togo, Benin. and Senegal will all join in on this alliance. Chad and everyone else here refrains from joining any alliance, so the rest of Africa stays neutral, although something happens in Sudan which leads to this. They will not be over in the Americas. Over in Asia, China will be able to get basically all of Central Asia except from Tajikistan and Afghanistan. Good reasons there, I don't need to explain. And they'll also be able to get Thailand in their alliance. Other than this is probably what their alliance is now going to look like at their peak. Because everyone else is kind of going to fall over to NATO. And when I mean that, I mean literally. Saudi Arabia, Oman, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan will all join in on NATO. Vietnam will join NATO. The Philippines, NATO. I mean, I don't even know if that one's I don't even know if I need to explain that one, to be honest. Oh, Jesus. And, probably the biggest pain, and probably the biggest one, India. Now, Sri Lanka feels threatened, so what's the best idea to do? Well, it's kind of like the last country the red team can really get. Sri Lanka will join in on China's side. Wow. At this point, Bangladesh and Nepal and Bhutan kind of just fall into place. I mean, like, I don't see any word where these guys would not join India. Over here, we'd have Brazil officially join NATO, and, well, Ecuador, Panama, Costa Rica both join. And at this point, it's time for the major war. So I'm not actually going to colour all this in, I'm just going to leave it like this. Yep, it's time for the major war. You've been waiting for it. So, the reason this war's happening is because troops from China entered into from Pakistan entered into India, and of course it's going to be from India this war starts. So the USA and all the NATO will officially declare war on China, and we have basically World War III breaking out. Now, the Americas is going to go by pretty quickly, so I'm actually going to get it done with now. Cuba, they get sunk into the bottom of the ocean. Nicaragua and Venezuela, explanatory. Same with Mexico. I'm sorry for skipping that quickly, I don't want to stay over there. Now, for Turkey, it's going to be interesting, because they lose twice, and Greece will now begin to make landings across their coast. But they won't get anything, that's the thing. They won't get Istanbul, that's what I mean. They do encircle it, but they can't take it, because, well, you know, that, and the Black Sea is basically just part of the Russian Ocean at this point, same with, maybe not the Mediterranean. But, Europe's power is going to overpower Turkey in this situation. Yemen is turned into a crater. Same with Palestine, because Palestine's surrounded. Lebanon gets smacked. I just realised this is very cursed. Just ignore this is cursed. And very quickly, Israel yoinked Damascus from Syria, beginning to lead to its collapse. I mean, like, I know, like, trying to think real here. Would a country immediately start to collapse if they lose their capital? For Syria, yes. So Syria will collapse, and Iraq will also collapse because Saudi Arabia is just too much for them. We have troops now entering in and only being able to take the Sinai Peninsula. And I just realised again something else is cursed. Tunisia, I am very sorry about this, but I'm afraid you have no chance. We have Western Sahara being taken, but don't worry, Spain is here to save Morocco. Even though Morocco is kind of starting to collapse. But at this point, American troops are flooding in mass over to Europe to help this. And eventually those American troops will land in Morocco, and, well, all else is about to break loose between these two. We have the re-liberation of Morocco, and also, can't forget Tunisia. And the strongest countries here, Algeria and Egypt, about to face freedom. Immediately, just swarmed and swarmed the troops entering into Algeria with no plan of stopping, as well as from this way. And eventually, the entire Algerian coast is taken. And, well, they would invade the desert a bit to make sure no troops are running away. But with their coast being taken, and as well as Libya now starting to lose Tripoli, a lot of countries starting to realise that this war is going to end in one way. Africa's going to fall, North America and South America are going to fall. It's going to be stalemate over here, and, well, actually it wouldn't be technically, because there are some really powerful countries over here. Speaking of that, North Korea's dead. US troops now starting to arrive again in mass over here, and it's kind of shown that the USA is using their entire army for this war, and it's shown as they now push into China with relative ease. India is holding out a major stalemate, and Vietnam is, well, doing Vietnamese stuff. They take out Cambodia and Laos with no problem, but for everything else they can't do anything, because, well, guerrilla warfare in China's... The guerrilla warfare here is just... It's horrendous. This one, the African front is falling, as Algeria and Libya are both eventually taken. Egypt, realising this war won't work, will leave. And we kind of see this happening for a lot of countries, as they just realise there's no chance of winning this war. And the entire African front will leave, other than, these two. Turkey will see this and think, maybe we shouldn't have joined this alliance, and they will leave. And that's going to hurt, because, well, now Europe can focus on Iran, who is panicking. Kazakhstan will also leave, because they kind of put two and two together and realise, what am I doing? And we also have these two leaving, so it's just basically the core members. But, at this point, I know I say I don't normally do this, but somebody does it funny, and a nuke is dropped in Beijing. And with that, this will officially end the war, as China will agree to not further escalate a possible nuclear war. And, by the way, the country that dropped this nuke was India. If it's not surprising, they also dropped one on Islamabad, so is it surprising? But the UN comes together and tells India to snap out of it, as they're now one of the big five. Yeah, they would be, actually. India's one of the big five now, and, the UK, France, USA, and China just tell them to snap out of it. You don't use nukes. And India will agree, and a nuclear war is dodged, and a peace treaty is signed between all sides. So let's take a look at that peace treaty. So, in the peace treaty, there is a lot to go over. But, in all reality, if you think of it, China really got off lucky. The alliance definitely took a hit. They lost basically everything except from, a couple of countries. So, I think it was not in Europe, Asia, because not really much happened over here. It was very, stalemated over here. So, firstly, one of the few changes over here is Vietnam annexed Laos and Cambodia. They did say they wanted to annex this part of Thailand, but everyone said you can't. You didn't even have troops in it. And also, you can't just say I want a piece of land from a country that didn't even get invaded. Going over to now what is Korea. The only thing we have happening over here is North Korea getting annexed. And that is because, again, China was new. So, I know they on land. I know they had occupied land over here in Manchuria, but they didn't take that. Central Asia, everybody here left except from Kyrgyzstan and Pakistan. And any of the Middle East where we had probably the most changes. Iraq and Syria are both crippled. Israel annexed the Sinai Peninsula, taking the Suez Canal, and also probably I think Alexandria maybe, or is it somewhere across here? I don't know. They annexed land up to here, and Jordan also got quite a bit of land. Saudi Arabia united with Kuwait and took land all the way around here from Iraq, and Yemen was split in half. And going to Turkey, yeah, again, another country that was let off really easy. I guess NATO doesn't want to lose every single member, which, if you look at the map, they lost a lot of members, obviously. Turkey only lost twice, and that was to Greece. That's all they lost. Everything else is still kept, but they leave this alliance. Now we head over to Africa, where I forgot to do something. Just imagine that is Morocco. Where, you know, Mauritania was not allowed Fiji. Even though they surrendered, they were not allowed Fiji. They're now basically just a desert, except from the coast here. Other than this is desert. Mali got hit, but nothing too major. And Algeria probably took the biggest hit, with losing land to Morocco and Tunisia. I think losing Algiers and Oran. Basically just left with this and maybe some stuff here. Libya could have had way more of a hit. They could have lost land to Italy and Greece. But they sort of decided that's a bit too extreme because they surrendered quite quickly. So all they took was Tripoli area, which is what they kind of had most occupied. And then over to the Americas. I think you saw this one come in. Colombia annexed a chunk of Venezuela. Brazil took the bottom half of Venezuela and the rest is puppeted by the USA. Mexico loses half of its country, leaving it even weaker than it was before. Cuba was annexed by the US, and Nicaragua is given a new government who is in support of NATO. But it wasn't like, you know, a Venezuela move where they were like given a new government, a whole puppet government, that they're leaning towards NATO, so they could possibly join. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.